Decided to make me and Elzie an anniversary dinner. Stick around and see what it is. Preheat the oven to 350. Dice an onion and a green pepper. I put 2 pounds of ground beef in a bowl. I add a half a cup of diced onions and a half a cup of green peppers, a tablespoon of minced garlic, half a tablespoon of Italian seasoning, a teaspoon of oregano, teaspoon of basil, and a teaspoon of paprika, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, and a teaspoon of salt, 2 eggs, and a cup of breadcrumbs, 1/3 cup of ketchup, and 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. Mix it all in together real well. Add in 1/3 cup of milk. Put it in your baking dish and shape into a loaf. Cover with aluminum foil. Place in the preheated oven. Set the timer for 45 minutes. In a bowl, I put a cup of ketchup, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, and 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar, and I mix it together. Wash, peel, and cut up some potatoes. Put the cut up potatoes in a pot, add chicken broth, enough to cover the potatoes. The timer goes off, remove the meatloaf. Carefully remove the aluminum foil. Place it back in the oven. Set the timer to 15 minutes. I take 24 ounces of thick sliced bacon and I cut it into 1-inch pieces. Put them in a pot and let them cook until they turn crispy. Once the bacon is crispy, I remove with a slotted spoon. I place it on paper towels. Once the timer goes off, I remove the meatloaf. I drain the fat from the meatloaf. I add the ketchup glaze. I spread it on top and the sides. Put the meatloaf back in the oven. I set the timer to 15 minutes. Leave about 3 tablespoons of bacon fat in the pot, and I add a half a cup of diced onions. Let them cook for about 2 minutes until they become translucent. Cut up and wash the cabbage, and I add it. I add a tablespoon of brown sugar. I let the cabbage cook for about 10 minutes. Add salt and pepper to taste. When the cabbage is finished, I add a tablespoon of red wine vinegar. I add the bacon. I stir it in and I let it cook for about 2 minutes. Once the potatoes become tender, I drain them and put them in a bowl. I add a 1/4 cup of butter, sea salt, black pepper, and milk, and I blend them. After blending, I add them back to the pot. I put a 1/4 cup of vegetable oil in a pan and 2 tablespoons of butter, and I put it in the oven to melt the butter. I put a half a cup of yellow cornmeal and a half a cup of white cornmeal in a bowl. I add a half a cup of flour, 1 egg, and the melted butter and vegetable oil, 3 tablespoons of sugar, and 3/4 cups of milk. I stir and mix it together. I heat the muffin pan and I add the mixture to it. Place it in the oven. I set the timer to 15 minutes.
This meatloaf taste good.
Thank you, Elzie.
You're welcome. These mashed potatoes taste good.
Thank you, Elzie.
You're welcome. This cabbage taste good.
Thank you, Elzie.
You're welcome. This muffin taste good.
Thank you, Elzie.
You're welcome.